All right, guys, it's VacconJohn, and I want to go through the process of winterization. So winterization is different than winter recirculation. Winterization is going to be when you're actually using air and getting all the water off this truck so that you can store it in the wintertime outdoors and not have to worry about anything freezing up. So we have an air purge set up on this truck where we can use our chassis air tanks and blow air through every portion of this system that stores water. Now we're going to go through everything step by step. Remember, our goal here is to get all the water off the truck. First thing we're going to do is empty our water tanks. We don't want to start with any water in the water tanks. We're going to get those dry. So we're going to drain our tanks. We're then going to connect our air purge hose and get that set up. Now it's connected with a ball valve, so we have the ability of sending the air or letting those chassis air tanks build back up with air pressure so that we could use them again. So I'm going to get that connected. Then we're going to have two main stations where we're going to be doing most of the winterization. We're going to be curbside, where our water manifold and water system is, and then we're going to be up front with our operating system. So we're going to be bouncing back and forth between the curbside and the front of the truck, and we're going to go through all four places that we're sending water on this truck. We're going to send air through the low pressure handgun, the hydroexcavation system, the jet rotor hose up front, and the debris tank flush out. So we're going to get all four of those lines purged with air through all of them. Then we're going to go spend time at the curbside to make sure that water system area gets drained correctly. Then we'll come back up front and finish everything. I'm going to start off by getting these water tanks drained. So you might have to wait if you're completely full and let all this water run out, but we've got two main drains on the truck. One's going to be right down here. It's a quarter turn ball valve right here. I'm going to open that up. That's my main drain for my water. I've also got a little cold weather drain here, which is the lowest portion of the water tanks. I'm going to go ahead and open that up too. We're going to go ahead and wait for this water to get completely drained out before we go ahead and start the winterization process. So I went ahead and drained my water tanks, and now I'm going to go ahead and connect my air purge line. So I've got two different connections on a Pro Reel truck where I can connect that chassis air tank to my fittings and my plumbing. I've got one that's low here, and I've got one that's a little bit higher. Now there's a check valve on the back side of my three-way ball valve that's associated for sending water back to the tanks or up to the Pro Reel. That's because we're using an air actuated ball valve at the front of the truck. And that valve is the lower mounted valve. I'm saving that for the end. So the main line that we want to use to purge all four places that we send water is this line right here. So I've got my air purge connection here, and it's a small disconnect line. This quick disconnect, I'm gonna plug in on this air purge. Now it's a little bit easier to plug the air purge in when the ball valve's open. So I'm gonna go ahead, open that ball valve, squeeze this check valve in, and plug this fitting in. And then I'm going to close my ball valve up. Now that I've got my air purge line connected, my ball valve's closed. Anytime my ball valve is closed, I'm rebuilding air in the chassis air tanks. Anytime it's open, it's sending air somewhere. One quick tip, I can turn work mode on and elevate my chassis RPMs, and that's going to build my chassis air tanks up faster. All right, I'm in work mode, air purge is connected. I'm going to send the water through the low pressure reel first. So I'm going to go low pressure handgun, open, water pump control, pressurized. And now I'm going to open this air purge ball valve and get my water shooting through that low pressure handgun circuit. So you saw how we had a big stream of water and then mist started shooting out. As soon as I'm seeing mist, that's purged. So low pressure handgun's clear. I've cleared that of any water. Now I'm going to do my hydroexcavation circuit. So I'm going to go turn that low pressure handgun off, hydroexcavation control on. I'm still in the pressurized manifold setting for my pump control. And I'm going to go ahead and turn my air purge ball valve on again. So now I'm getting that straight water, and now I'm getting mist. I know that line's clean now. So now both of those reels are clean. I just closed my air purge line. I'm letting that air build back up again. I'm gonna go ahead and hit my debris tank flush out. Now, this isn't something that you're gonna be able to see as easily. It's inside the debris tank. A good practice is to open that back door and maybe tilt that tank up a little bit to let that water run out. I've already tilted my debris tank up. I've got my door cracked. I'm gonna come to my debris tank flush out. I'm turning the hydro excavation control off, debris tank flush out on. My water pump control is still in the pressurized manifold setting. I'm gonna turn my air purge on. Now I've got that water shooting through my debris tank flush out guns, and I'm gonna let it run. If I'm not completely looking at it, let's give it about 10, 12 seconds. Once we meet that 10 or 12 second mark, I know that that line's purged. I'm gonna come back to my air purge ball valve and turn it off. At this point, I'm gonna turn my debris tank flush out valve off, and I'm gonna turn my water pump control valve back to Pro Reel. So I've already hit 3 out of the 4 places that we needed to purge on the truck. The low pressure handgun, the debris tank flush out, and the hydro excavation. The only one I haven't done is that front jet hose. Now the front jet hose is going to take the longest out of any of the hoses on the truck. Reason being is I got 600 feet of 1-inch inside diameter hose in the front of the truck. There is no possible way to shoot enough air through that jet hose and be completely dry. There's going to be water sitting in the bottom of that jet hose. So there's only one way to correctly air purge that jet hose. We're gonna do it right now. So I'm starting this process with my rotor hose connected to the storage fitting here. And I'm gonna shoot out the majority of my water before I start any different process, because I got a lot of water in this hose. I'm gonna keep this connected how it is. I'm gonna tell that water where I want it to go. So I'm just coming to this jet hose ball valve on off switch and pressing jet hose on. I've told that air where I want it to go. Now I'm gonna go turn my air purge on, and you're gonna see a big surge of water come through this, and I'm gonna keep it on for a good amount of time. So I might fast forward through here, but we're gonna get a big shot of water, and we're gonna keep it rolling and let that air purge push the majority of this water out of the hose. So you can see we got that big surge of water that came out, and then a bunch of mist came out and it started splattering everywhere. That's gonna happen for a while until you're able to start the next portion of the process, because I've got water sitting in the bottom wraps of this hose. That air was bypassing everything, and all that water that was sitting at the bottom wasn't effectively getting pushed out. It can't happen. The only way we're gonna be able to actually get this jet hose completely free of water is by disconnecting this leader hose, zip tying it to itself, and rotating this hose backwards while we're purging the air out. And we're gonna get a shot glass of water that comes out every rotation. This is gonna take a little bit. We're gonna need to rotate this around until we're not seeing that shot glass of water coming out. The reason this is so important is if you're going out to work and you left the water in the bottom lengths of this hose, and you put a nozzle on, that ice is going to build up that pressure and you're going to have a problem. And it's not fun when that happens. So we need to make sure we get all this water out. I'm going to disconnect my hose here and go ahead and attach this zip tie to get it synced into place. So I'm gonna get this zip tie situated right around the end of this leader hose behind the main fitting so it doesn't slip off. I'm gonna pull that hose and make sure it's as tight as I can. and lock this zip tie right behind the fitting. Once I've got that done, I can go ahead and trim off my excess. Now we're starting the rotation. So I'm gonna keep my jet hose on. I've been building up my air purge, and as I'm going backwards, I'm gonna shoot air through everything. So I'm in work mode. My air purge is on. I'm gonna start my backward rotation. Now, I'm gonna bring my hose reel speed up to 50% max speed, and I'm holding my joystick back and letting this roll at exactly 50% max speed. Every time we make a revolution, we're gonna see a shot glass fall out of that leader hose at the bottom. Now, we're gonna have to go through each wrap and make sure that we get that shot glass every single time. So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward you through this. This is the part that takes the most time out of anything, but there's no way around it. You have to do this. If you're fully winterizing the truck, you can't go without doing this. Really good example, as you can see right underneath there, as it hits the back side of that roll, you're seeing about the shot glass of water come out each roll. Still getting my shot glass, so I'm still spinning. No more shot glass coming out. So now, I'm not seeing that water coming out there anymore. I can go ahead and keep this zip tied right here for now. But this jet hose is now completely dry. I'm gonna go ahead and shut my air purge valve and start building that air up and fill my chassis air tanks. While I'm up here, before I leave the hose reel area, I wanna get this completely checked off my list. And we have our winter recirculation valve down here. So I've got my air purge ball valve closed right now. I'm rebuilding air. While I'm waiting for that air to rebuild, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this zip tie off. Now, I'm gonna take this jet hose and connect it to my recirculation fitting down here. So I got the threads going here, and I'm just tightening this down to make sure I don't get any air that leaks through. But basically, I'm using the air purge through this jet hose to send the air back towards the tank so I don't have any water in this air purge setting. So I'm fully connected and my air's built back up. I'm gonna keep my jet hose on, and my pump reel controls are to the pro reel. All I'm gonna do is turn my air purge on and send the water from this valve all the way back to the air tanks. Just opened my air purge. I've sent that air all the way through that plumbing back to the tanks. Now I'm gonna go turn that air purge valve off, and I can disconnect this and put it back into its stored position. We're completely finished at the front end. Let's go back curbside and finish the job. So now we've done all 4 places we've sent water. We've got the low pressure handgun, clean. The hydroexcavation circuit, clean. Debris tank flush out circuit is clean. And the whole front end of the truck, the front jet hose and the recirculation valve coming back is clean. So we've almost completed our job. We still got some important pieces to hit here curbside of the truck. So right on this side, the first thing I want to do is come through and open any valves that I have connected to my high pressure unloader that are my dial fittings. So I've got a dial fitting here, I've got a dial here, I've got one at the bottom of the manifold here, and I've also got one on the right side of the water pump. So I'm going to go through and turn all of those to the left. Once they're all the way to the left, they're going to stop in that position. So you're not going to completely undo the valve. So this is my third one that I'm loosening now. Third one's done. I've got one more on the right side of the water pump. So I'm going to come up here and turn this one to the left. And you're going to get some drops of water that fall out without any air coming through at all. These are just the lowest points in the system where they're dead spots that need to be opened up. And I just keep these open when I'm winterizing the truck. They're going to stay open and until we completely put water back in the truck and use it again. So all 4 of the dials have been opened. I'm going to come to my water pump. This water pump has a ball valve at the bottom of it. I'm going to open that ball valve completely. This is a really important step. You're going to see water trickle out from that water pump. It's a huge step to make sure that you always hit. Now, not only am I opening that water pump, but now I'm actually going to fire up that water pump and let it cycle for about 15 seconds to 20 seconds and let it move. That way that those plungers are going to get all the water pushed out through that valve. So I'm just going to go pony motor on, start my auxiliary engine, let it run for 15 to 20 seconds, and then I'll cut it off. I started that pony motor, and you can see that there's some water spitting out of here. That's just cycling that water through. I'm gonna let it run for its 15 seconds. Again, I'm gonna keep these open, so I'm not too concerned about the water pushing through them. I'm gonna go cut the pony motor off, we're good. In this pump control, manifold pressurized position, I'm gonna hit that air purge one more time. Got some more residual water that came out of those valves. I'm all set there. I don't need to mess with those. My water pump's dry. I'm gonna go ahead and open this handgun recirculation for our hydroexcavation side. So now I'm gonna come open hydroexcavation just like we did when we started that process. I'm gonna push some air through there. So I've hit those main areas, but my air purge is still connected to my primary air purge setting. And I still got this ball valve here connected to air purge that's on the back side of a check valve. That's gonna be my last step here. So I'm gonna go ahead, disconnect the air purge, plug it back into that bottom fitting. So now I've got that air purge connected and I've locked it into position. All I'm gonna do is, in the Pro Reel setting, open up that air purge, and I'm gonna shift it to manifold pressurized, shift it back to the Pro Reel connection, and I've purged everything on the back side of that check valve. So I can close this up. Now, I've finished purging everything on the truck, but there's still one thing that I like to do. One, very important, disconnect our air purge. So I'm gonna come in here, get this disconnected. Now with that air purge disconnected, I'm gonna let it hang here. I do not wanna keep it connected as I'm driving down the road because it's utilizing our chassis air tanks. So I've got that disconnected here, but every ball valve on the truck, I want to open 45 degrees or halfway. That way, the ball valve can't freeze into the shut position or the open position. I'm gonna keep it cracked right down the middle. That's not the only purpose I'm doing this. The other reason is, if I'm not the one running this truck next and my counterpart comes up and he's going off to run the truck, he knows by looking at this signal, this truck's been winterized. So it's also a good way of making sure everyone that runs the truck knows when it's in this position, you've winterized the truck. So I'm gonna come through, open these ball valves, and turn everything to a 45-degree angle. After I've done that, my job's completely done. So we went through, emptied the water tanks, connected our air purge. We went through every place that we can send water. Low pressure handgun, hydroexcavation system, debris tank flush out, front jet hose, recirculation off the front jet hose, recirculation through the manifold from the hydroexcavation circuit. Then we hit 4 of our dial valves here, 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 and on the right side of the water pump, opened those completely. Then we connected our air purge, took it off the main section, and put it on the secondary air purge connection that hits the back side of the check valve. Once we completed that, we went to our ball valves and put everything at a 45-degree angle or halfway to signal to the next user that this truck's been air purged and to make sure that our ball valves don't freeze. I can leave this truck outside in the wintertime without worrying about anything freezing because I've gotten all the water off. Thank you for tuning in to this winterization instructional video. We made this video to ensure that your trucks make it through the winter and they're ready to work for you when you need them. If you have any questions regarding winterization, reach out to us, take advantage of us. If you guys have questions about other things, send me a message. Make sure to subscribe to VacconJohn so you can see demonstration videos of us out in the field, instructional videos like this. You also get to see some walkarounds of some trucks that might be a little bit different than yours. As always, work safe and buy Vac-Con.